the community that I grew up in, you know, they would absolutely chuck a hissy fit if they saw one of their members wearing a cross. But a lot of them took to wearing the Star of David around their neck or on their ears, or having a sticker on their car of the Star of David. You know, well, that was so much better. You know, like because
Yeah.
they wouldn't place any talisman or anything like that in that particular symbol. But I used to always fascinate me when, okay, well,
Yeah, I'm aware of that. That there is a preference to have a Star of David as opposed to a cross, and that's interesting because I mean a Star of David has got an inverted triangle on it, and that is definitely not a biblical symbol. And again, that symbol could be way misunderstood as I am pro-Zionism, I am
okay.
pro-Judaism. And yet, the people who wear it as Christians, I guess they mean I'm committed to the hope of Israel and I'm committed to the purpose of God to establish his kingdom in Israel and so on. So, again, you have a position where people are wearing a symbol that can easily be misunderstood, that has totally non Christian associations, if not paganic. I mean, an inverted triangle. That's definitely paganic in some way, and it's totally not biblical. The Star of David does not figure at all in the Bible, and yet it's done from the right motives, I assume. And so it is with wearing a cross. On one hand, you can say, "Oh no, you know, this is problematic," um, because it's got wrong associations, because some people abuse it. But on the other hand, no. But for me, I know what that means. And so this is the trouble with all symbolism, all visual symbolism, that it is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm. Yeah, and something stuck to me what you said that reminded me of it's a very personal thing to do, in that it reminds me of my relationship to God and to Jesus. It's not only because I want to present myself as a Christian, but it's a reminder for me. It's I guess like an engagement ring almost.
See, I was, it's funny you should mention this. I was driving to work this morning down the freeway, and a car whizzed past me, and on the dashboard of their car was this great big cross, like, I don't know, probably 1 to 5 scale of probably what was actually sitting on the dashboard of their car. And I looked over at it and I thought, and this is, I too can be very cynical, right? And I thought, oh, you know, that's their little talisman to protect their, you know, save them from having a crash. And here they are, zoom, down the freeway, you know, faster than everyone else. But the other day, you see, I was at a client's house and I had to hang a crucifix with a little Jesus on it above the doorway. And I didn't think the same thing of that lady. All I thought was, oh, she's got some association with Christianity, and so I'll use this as an opportunity to, you know, introduce the Bible app to her. So it's strange, even within myself, I notice that some people I see have a cross, and I think, oh, they're just using that as a, you know, good luck charm. And yet another person I see, I go, oh no, I think maybe they're using it to show an identification. I just figure that I just can't be so judgmental. I know that I had some friends in Sri Lanka, and there was a bit of persecution going on there at one stage, and some of my brothers and sisters that don't wear crosses, they took to wearing a cross, because they want, because they're not Sri Lankans, they're other nationalities, refugees, and they were afraid that if they went down to the markets to buy their food, that, you know, they'll be taken as being Muslim and they'd be beaten up. So even though they didn't normally have a crucifix around their neck, they took to wearing a crucifix when they went to the market for self-protection. Now, I could be cynical, and I was, and I thought in my brain, well, You know, how much faith and trust did they have in God? How much faith and trust did they have in God? You know? I thought, yeah, but I'm not them with their little baby in the pram going down to buy some spuds from the shop. I'm worried about the little baby getting beaten up. I'm not them, you see. So anyway.
I'd like to just add that there is in some conservative quarters a very strong feeling that you must not wear a cross. And I would like to say to those people that you've got to be careful lest you become what Paul calls enemies of the cross of Christ. You should not sort of hate the symbol of the cross. You may hate some of the things that it's been wrongly associated with, but you should be just very careful that you don't become enemies of the cross of Christ. I think they get to that position because they assume that the cross or the crucifix is the mark of the beast. That, to my mind, is a big jump of logic. And I think if you look at what the book of Revelation says about the mark of the beast, I don't personally think that it is the crucifix. It is the number of a man and 666 and so forth. And it is a mark that is in the forehead and on the hand, etc., not significantly around the neck. I think personally that is a misinterpretation, and I'm afraid it's sort of an example of where people will take a verse out of Revelation, out of context, and then extrapolate their interpretation to the point, hey, you're wearing a cross, get out of our church. When, as we've been discussing, actually the wearing of a cross has got multiple possible meanings for the person who is wearing it. And so I would just sound that warning to anyone who's listening to the answer, that don't be so anti people like my good interviewer, Siri, who wears a cross. You know, it's not a sign that necessarily you're part of the beast, you're part of the whore, you're this, that, and the other. No, be very careful that you don't jump to that kind of extremism.
Once again, I learned so much when I went to Sri Lanka. I never did mission work, right? And I lived in this fake Christian bubble for so many years. I had no idea what Christianity was until I got outside of this little bubble here in Perth. Anyway, I went over to Sri Lanka. I learned so much, and it just totally shattered me, humbled me big time. Anyway, in Sri Lanka, they hire rooms or meeting places from landlords, and the landlords have crucifixes over all the doorways. You know? And I suspect that they do have it there for good luck charm, you know, so they can get their monthly rent. Well, there's my cynicism again, right? But so we go into the meeting hall with our brothers and sisters over in Sri Lanka, you know, and there's crucifixes above the doorway and on the walls and what have you. No one thinks anything of it. All the missionaries that leave from Australia here and go over there think nothing of it. Because it's in the context, you see. Well, I'll tell you what, if they went to somebody's house here in Perth, Western Australia, and they saw a crucifix there, oh, they'd be up in arms. So, yeah, I just find it very bizarre that, you know, those same people who do missionary work over in Sri Lanka have no problems with it at all, you know. But come back to Australia, and oh dear, it's all completely different.
So did that answer your question, a cross-wearing interviewer?
Yes, it did. Thank you both.
So don't you keep that cross around your neck.
Yeah, I need to shine it actually. I see it's gone kind of. Toothpaste will help with that, apparently.